Look at Ephesians 5:21. When I saw this one, I really laughed. Because in Ephesians chapter 5, in the later verses, verse 22 says, wives, submit to your husbands, right? So some people say, well, verse 21 already said, submitting to one another in the fear of God. So in marriage, we are to submit to one another. I'm going to assume that it's an honest mistake. So I'm going to explain what the Bible was really saying. Now, let me tell you something about preachers you probably don't know. Preachers tend to repeat the same sermon from time to time. You know that, don't you? And it's a good thing, a biblical thing, just to make sure that even if people already know what you're about to say, that it marinates in their soul. So Paul preached this same sermon to the church at Colossae, and I want you to notice the pattern here. Look at Colossians chapter 3 from verse 18. Wives, submit to your own husbands as it is fitting to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter towards them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing to the Lord. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged. Bond servants, obey in all things your masters. So listen, he gave an instruction to wives, he gave an instruction to children, he gave an instruction to bond servants, because those were the three layers of authority in those days. He taught submission, wives to husbands, children to parents, servants to masters. And that was the exact same thing he did in Ephesians. The only difference is that in Ephesians, the sermon was longer. So he took many verses to explain wives submitting to your husbands. He took many verses to explain children to parents. And he took many verses to explain servants to bondmasters. So now let's go back to Ephesians chapter 5. When it says submitting to one another in all things, by one another he meant husbands and wives, children and parents, servants and bondmasters. Now let's look at it. He now says, wives, submit to your own husbands as unto the Lord. Verse 22. He explained and talked about wives and submissions and marriage. And then in chapter 6, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. From verse 1, you see that, right? And then in verse 5, bond servants, be obedient. So listen, the same sermon, Ephesians was just more expanded.